It's July, which means it's officially the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. To celebrate this milestone, we thought it would be fun to bring in a very, very special guest to talk about some of the most important and influential American artists of all time. That special guest is our very own Chad Leabo, the Chief Music Explorer here at CMC Neptune. Chad is a true music expert in every way, so we wanted to get his insight into these great American artists. We've got 20 artists to talk about today, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Thank you for joining us for episode 7 of For the Record with CMC Neptune. We'll get into the discussion right after this. Okay, and we're back on the podcast. My name is Drew Rourke, and welcome to For the Record. And joining me today is a very, very special guest, Chad Leabo. Chad, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. It's great to see you.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on. We've been talking here on this side of the office about having you on at some point. We thought that this would be a great time to do it. Before we get into these artists, I wanted to ask you what it is that you do here as the Chief Music Explorer. What does that mean? What's your day-to-day like? How much music are you listening to in a day? What does that look like for you?
My job's crazy because I listen to music all the time. Either I'm looking for new stuff or editing or processing music that people requested. It's nonstop music. So sometimes when I'm not working, I just be quiet or listen to some music that we don't have. And that's kind of my little palate cleanser, as it were. But my day, I start usually pretty early trying to get ahead of things because people have to work on things that I do first. And number one priority is always partner request. People request some music. I check them out. Do we have it? Yes. We don't have it. No. If we don't have it, I send it to our screeners. And then 3 people will check out the song, say yay or nay. And then we go from there. And I do any, processing to the song required to make it, fit our standards. It's been fun. I've been with the company for over 15 years now, and we've gone through a lot of music. On an average week, we add like 50 songs on an average week, and usually screen about 100 or so. And so there's a lot to building the library that we have. It's a massive library, and we have a lot of niche categories that people may not realize also. Like right now we're working on some French pop for this place we have in Quebec.
Oh, wow.
So we have all kinds of things we work with, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm always working in some regard. If I'm listening to radio or listening to some streaming service or at a concert, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Let's check them out. Actually, I'm wearing this She's Green, this little indie shoegaze dream pop band. I saw them in concert like a year ago in this small place, and I'm going to check out more of their stuff. So I'm always on the lookout, whether it's through, radio, streaming, or live music. I'm always trying to find something that sounds like us that people might like.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're a true aficionado. So on average, how many songs are you screening throughout your week? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Numbers wise, do you have like a range?
Yeah, usually around 100 is what we screen a week.
100. Wow.
And we usually add, it's a lot, but when we add about 50.
Yeah.
And this time, depending on the time of year, summertime, we're usually just trying to build up some parts of the library that they have some opportunity that need to expand. During the school year, we do a lot more with requests and things. And so it just, the year ebbs and flows workload wise from what's required, but I try to keep it consistent because hey, we have an opportunity to add some more stuff. Let's go look, wow, we don't have enough of this category. Let's bump it up and see what we can make happen.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I just wanted to talk to you about that because I feel like it's an important thing for us to know about, like just how much work goes into what we do here. We really appreciate all the work that you do and the screeners do.
It's fun. It's a full-time gig, but like Friday mornings, this is one of the things people may not realize. In the United States, new music is released Friday morning.
Right.
Well, I start usually by 6. I start 6 a.m. going through, searching different places where I know the new music is, and sending that stuff out to the screeners. And doing so, try to get ahead of the curve. And we always try to have the best music we can that still fits our requirements, but try to have it on faster than anybody else.
Right.
Like Taylor Swift, when she dropped a new album, I told all our screeners, we're going to get this done today. And or like Olivia Rodrigo, she drops a new album. Anything we have, we try to have it on by that same day. Sometimes by close of by noon on that same day.
Right.
Just really try to stay ahead of the curve, and that's important. I think for our product to have the fastest, highest quality ads, ADDS, as I get for adding music that we possibly can.
Yeah, keeps us current, keeps us relevant, keeps the youthful, the youthful audience engaged.
Yeah, we don't read stale. We don't use stale old music. We have old music, but
we certainly do.
We have it though. We have a lot of it.
And we're going to talk about a lot today.
Yes, we are. Like
I said in the intro, we're going to talk about 20 American artists.
This is a mean assignment, by the way.
I know, and I want to explain how we came up with this list because you did all the heavy lifting. I'm not going to take any credit for this. This was all you. I gave you a long list. I think it was like over 90 artists, and I asked you to narrow it down to 20. And that's a heavy ask.
Mean.
Very mean, but I appreciate the hard work that you did. We're going to talk about them just in historical order. We're not going to rank them. We're not doing anything like that. We're just going to talk about them.
Yeah, let's not make it worse than it already was.
No, this would be a 4-hour podcast if we tried to rank them.
And it's a fool's errand because it's all very subjective.
Exactly, 100%. So because you know way more than me, you know so much about all these artists. I'm going to treat this as a Q&A.
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask you questions and let you go off about all of these artists because I know that you got things to say. I know you probably got some tidbits about all these artists. So we're just going to get started. I'm just going to start asking you questions. Cool?
Sure.
All right. So our first artist on this list is Duke Ellington. And my first question is, what did Duke Ellington do to set himself apart from other jazz artists at the time?
He was so varied. Now, I will say also on this list, I'm not saying everything anybody's the biggest or the most popular, sold the most units.
Right.
So when I try to narrow it down, I pick people who were very influential for a style, or an originator, or someone who caused like a seismic shift. And so that's kind of that's how I had to narrow it down in my own mind. Duke Ellington, if you've ever tried to read his autobiography, he'll tell you how great he was. It's a weighty tome. It's seriously. Oh yeah, we get it, Duke. You're awesome. But the fact that he, the jazz thing, jazz, big band, but he also moved into classical music and things like this too. He was all over the place because he really could do anything. Heck of a piano player, great composer, and highly influential. Everything he did influenced other people. And it's not just the jazz scene and the R&B scene. Pop music always borrows from previous generations. Always has, always will.
Right.
But like my favorite song of his is on 1956 Newport Jazz Festival recording. And just before Paul Gonzalez does his insane 27 chorus sax solo, there's a thing that pops up in there and you hear it throughout different parts of the song, but you can sing Rock Around the Clock to it. It's the same exact rhythm. And It was a 1938 composition.
Yeah.
Performed in 1956. And so the roots of the sound of what became rock and roll are there. R&B, jazz, these things, this is where, rock comes from.
Yeah. So
Ellington his talent was limitless. It really was.
That's great. Okay, so that's Duke Ellington. Our next artist is a big one, Frank Sinatra. So Frank he's one of the most famous artists of all time, and his music continues to endure. So what do you think it is about him that keeps the listeners and viewers, because he was an actor and a stage and
Yeah.
like just a character? What do you think it is that keeps people coming back to him and wanting to revisit his music?
His personality,
Hmm.
and it really comes through. And that was one of the things, the great singers aren't just singing the words, they become the song. And
Right.
his singing style was interesting because the phrasing is a little different than what a lot of other people were doing at the time. And so it draws attention to him. And, he took people under his wing. He was, he created this persona, his gang,
Yeah.
Rat Pack thing. And it became really that mid-century jazz stuff. He moved out of being a crooner that he had been during World War II,
Mhm.
and moved into this, and just fully embraced it, and created a lot of different talents come into the whole thing. Martin, Dean Martin, and all these guys like this, and it's just kind of fun to listen and say, oh, well, this comes because Frank did this first. Maybe he didn't do everything first because he probably borrowed it from some old R&B blues singer also.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
Everybody borrows liberally. It happens.
for sure.
And so, but Frank was also just, he knew his brand. And this is one of the things I think that the biggest artists do very well. They know their brand,
Right.
and they stick to it.
Hmm.
And some of the artists didn't make this list. Like, people are going to be mad that Taylor Swift isn't on this list. But that's not to slight her. But
Yeah.
her brand, she didn't really, wasn't a seismic shift in music styles or anything like that. And that's kind of what I'm, focusing on. But she manages her brand extremely well.
Certainly.
It's amazing. And so knowing who you are and what you do and owning it and controlling your path
Mhm.
is one of the things that Frank did really well too.
Yeah, and on
Well,
that,
he did too, because he also did movies and TV.
right? Yeah, on that similar wavelength, was he always like Sinatra, or was there something specific that he did, whether it was in his actual career, was it a specific song or performance that made him that?
No, I think he just, and this is where it kind of goes with Taylor Swift, kind of a parallel. It's just to put it in a way that people can understand.
Mhm.
He evolved as he grew older. His audience was growing older too, but he still had this. He used to be kind of the crooner romantic type thing, and he can still pull that off. But then he kind of just became cool.
Mhm.
Taylor started out country, then she became this big pop star. And her next phase, because she can't, she will continue to evolve. That's one thing she does very, very well. She adapts to who she is at the moment. And people get mad because Taylor Swift sings songs that have, bad words or alcohol or stuff or whatever in them,
Mhm.
like, she's a grown woman. She's not 16, man. And the same with any of these artists, they evolve.
Right.
And I'm sure, like, the evolution of certain bands and artists from their earliest stuff to the later stuff. Well, your life has changed. You
Mhm.
change. You have to kind of express that in different ways as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's great. All right, our next artist, Muddy Waters. And Muddy Waters, he's often cited as the father of the modern Chicago blues.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that he did musically that was fresh and new at the time and like launched the blues into the mainstream in a completely different way?
Well, a lot of that scene comes out of the South, and during the post Civil War migration, people were moving out of the South, moving up for industrial jobs,
Right?
And that he just did it so well, and he had such a distinctive, I don't know, his vocals and guitars, and he did things in a way that it's like like these other artists that we talk about, they're you can identify them. Oh, Muddy Waters,
Right.
Or other blues artists, Lightnin' Hopkins, John Lee Hooker, you can name them. But the reason I picked Muddy Waters, because frankly, from a listening standpoint, I like John Lee Hooker speaks to me more.
Mm.
But Muddy Waters, from influential standpoint,
Yeah.
no Muddy Waters, no Beatles, no Stones, no Who, no, all these other bands that he, on the other side of the pond, the influence there was more apparent, it's more readily identifiable.
Sure.
And
Can you get a little like specific on that? What is it about his sound that inspired specifically those kinds of bands, those rock bands?
I think that they're simple songs.
Yeah.
They're very simple songs,
Mm-hmm.
but you're singing with heart.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that all the great blues performers, where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it. Like, oh yeah, I've been there, even though I've never been there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm there now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about the blues. And I enjoy a lot of blues music. You can't listen to it all the time. I don't listen to everything, anything all the time. But I really like listening to some of that old blues. I was the house I grew up in. I heard a lot of that kind of music growing up too.
Yeah.
And just listening to that kind of stuff, it hits a different way.
Yeah. For sure.
It strikes a deeper chord with you. It's almost primal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I like about it. And you listen to, especially those early Stones songs. They've got cover versions of these blues acts in here, and it really influences a lot of bands, and even some of the other American, like, again, we're going across the other side of the pond because the Americans originated it.
Right.
Like, you don't get Black Sabbath without a blues band.
Interesting.
Because their Black Sabbath's first band was called Earth, and you can find this stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is a blues song.
Wow. That's cool.
Ozzy Osbourne singing in a blues song.
Yeah.
And with a saxophone in it. You can find this stuff. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's the chord structure and everything. That's where you get that sound.
Yeah. That's very cool. Awesome. Our next artist is Hank Williams.
Hank first. Yes.
So I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not a country music listener.
Mm-hmm.
I never have been. I've attempted to, and it's never really worked for me. So as someone who isn't, tell me what it is about Hank Williams that's so important. Like why is he so important to the genre?
This was a really hard one because the Carter family should probably go first. This is a really tough call, but Hank became, and that's where it's similar to the blues music.
Mm-hmm.
Country music and blues music. This is the music of the people.
Yeah.
And this is Americana.
Mm.
And granted, its roots are in folk and other things that people bring over. But much like blues music, you feel it. Like, I don't know. The thing about Hank also is the fact that he, like these others, created a persona.
Mm.
And sadly, it was a self-destructive persona in some regard.
Yeah.
And like his grandson can sound just like him, Hank the Third.
Mm.
He has some country stuff it sounds like Hank Senior.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like him in a way too.
Mm.
But the personality that came through, and there's an authentic feel to it. And folk music also, they all have this kind of the same roots. And I don't know, I could listen to Hank Williams the first, hear a lot of these great songs, and music is a time machine, and you kind of get, oh, this was going on then. Sometimes you can relate to it, sometimes you can't.
Sure.
But he had the look, he managed his image, he was wild, he was untamed,
mm-hmm.
And so that the kind of rebellious spirit is also very American,
Right.
And so, then his son took it to the next level, Bo Cephas, he's wild, and his grandson, the Hank Williams III, is even more wild in different ways. He actually had a metal band,
Really?
So, oh yeah.
Yeah.
he did some stuff with Phil Anselmo from Pantera.
Oh,
Right? I
wow.
mean,
Yeah.
it's like whole different, Super Joint Ritual is one band he had, and it's not country.
Yeah.
It's not country at all. But it all kind, I think the Carter family really should be at the top of the pyramid in there, but Hank just managed to make it more popular.
Gotcha.
He had the image, and also you have to look at the times. You're starting to get more exposure in different media than you would have had before. You hear something on radio, somebody playing old scratchy 78, or you start moving to more electronic media, more mass media, easier to consume, and that's where you start being able to really push an image, and people know your character and know that you are a character in his regard.
Right. Yeah. That's fascinating. Our next artist is Fats Domino. And, when people talk about the birth of rock and roll, Elvis, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, they usually get a lot of the attention. But why do you think Fats Domino is sometimes overlooked, despite being one of the biggest stars and best-selling artists of that entire era?
It's kind of a timing thing. He came a little before those guys,
right? He inspired them, right?
Yeah, he was an influence.
Yeah,
and you go listen to some of his stuff, and it's like it is all fire. It is 100% terrific stuff. But one of the things that's really fascinating is the fact that, I guess it was like in the late 50s. And this is why I included him, because he could have been out. He was one of these originators of R&B and rock and roll.
Yeah.
But some of the couple songs he did in the late 50s had a different sound to them. And I'm trying to think what the name of the song was. Gosh, I have written down where he was. Be my guest. I think this was 1959, and the percussion and so it had a little more of an upbeat sound. There was kind of a different sound that was going on in the R&B scene at the time.
Yeah,
but it wasn't rock and roll, and it's the roots of ska music. And so, he was big in New Orleans, and all these big, the big cities down on the Gulf Coast had these blowtorch radio stations that reach, they wouldn't power them down necessarily at night, because AM you have to decrease power at night.
Right.
And there's like a WRNO or something like that in New Orleans back in the day would have had a directional south pattern, and the whole Caribbean could pick up the radio station.
Gotcha.
And so you're sitting in Kingston and you're listening to this and going, wow, this is cool. And so they start kind of mixing some of the rhythms that they had been playing on their island, but they start mixing with this other stuff that's coming out of America, ska music. Ska gets big. Ska becomes a music form of its own, and it gets exported to the UK. From ska, you get reggae. Ska first, then reggae. So you go Fats Domino, ska, reggae, going, what? How did we get from Fats Domino to Bob Marley? Well, it's not that hard. And it gets even more interesting because ska music, there was a big UK Jamaica thing going, it's always been a pretty common thing. And you start hearing in the roots of punk music, like a lot, like even like the Clash and the Scout, they had like dub versions of some of their songs, and Generation X, Billy Idol's first band, and also then there are also ska bands like the Ska Lights and things like this. Actually, Ska Lights covered a Fats Domino song. These are English bands, and so it's not hard to make that thing, all that curve from Fats Domino to all these styles of music.
It's unbelievable.
And he was amazing. You listen to stuff, and it's good stuff. But it kind of predates the stuff that we consider early rock and roll to a degree.
Sure. All right, our next artist, number 6, is James Brown, and he's called the Godfather of Soul. But what does that mean? What did he do that nobody else was doing?
He made it bigger and badder. And James Brown, again, this is a big personality. Like all the other,
that's a common theme throughout all of these is personality. Yeah,
you got to stand out. Yeah, and James Brown, it's like you drop the needle on that. If you're going to play records like me, you drop the needle on that, and it's a party.
Oh yeah.
There's a party in your house right now because James Brown's out there, and he was one of the biggest influences of so many different. It's soul and R&B that you without him you can't even have the conversation. Because there's some other bands I really, really love who are on the list. Sly and the Family Stone, Earth, Wind and Fire, Ohio Players. I love these acts. I've seen them all live. But without James Brown, they don't get the love. Nobody's going to hear about it because somebody has to be the originator,
right?
And he's patient zero for the good soul,
Yeah.
And it was like most of these people on this list. Taylor Swift's probably nicer, a better person than most of these people.
Yeah.
Because he was a mess.
Sure.
But he killed it.
Yeah. You can't deny the star power.
Just pick up, scroll through Spotify. This is James Brown or whatever. Because there was always some generic thing on Spotify or whatever. Yeah. Play that thing, and you can't help it. You're going to start going. You can't help but move to
100%, 100%. While preparing for this episode, I kind of listened to everybody's music a little bit, and I had a lot of fun just checking in on James Brown. I haven't listened in a long time, and it's just so much fun. It's just a great, and
it's timeless, and like Motown 100%. Sound. He wasn't on Motown, but it was an influence. Berry Gordy wanted that, so he created his own thing, that same kind of sound. Yeah, which his was Detroit sound, but all that music is all happening in the 60s. The 60s were an amazing time for music. Yeah, there's so many seismic shifts culturally, politically, wars, all these things, drug culture that really changed up the way we listen to how we experience music and the way the artists create music, and it's really pretty wild.
Our number 7 is Little Richard. So when I think of music from the 50s, Little Richard's sound is what comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
What is it about that sound that defines that era so well?
This is like a pumped up, kicked up version of 50s R&B is what it really is. And the thing that Little Richard brought, and this is a hot take that people are going to be mad about. I say Little Richard's the king of rock and roll.
Over Elvis. I
said it. I said it.
We're gonna clip this out, Chad.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I said it. Nobody was more flamboyant, more wild on stage, and just pushing limits at that time. He influenced everybody who wanted to be a performer. Yeah, because he was the consummate performer. Prince comes from Little Richard.
Yeah, 100%.
Elvis comes from Little Richard. Little Richard, number one. And you go listen to, check out his, some playlist, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, an introductory thing. And it's like, man, this is good stuff. Yeah. And then just imagine that people are like, at that time period, they're freaking out. Like, what is this? Because, you remember they used to, they're burning Beatles records. Imagine what they were doing with this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, I think that he does. I don't think he gets enough love.
Yeah, I agree.
And he shifted. He became like a gospel singer later. He found Jesus, and it's a different thing. But still, he still was bringing it.
Yeah, that's great. That's Little Richard. Our next artist is also very influential, Chuck Berry. But I want to kind of be specific about him. Like, what is it about his guitar playing specifically that's so special and has captured so many guitarists over the years?
Well, back then, nobody was really doing that.
Yeah.
Most people were singing.
Right.
Or, doo-wop was, that was the big thing, which comes from the streets. And, that was the thing, man. You got, these doo-wop bands, Cadillacs, Temptations, all these, they're fantastic. But Chuck Berry stood out in front of her, played a guitar, played it well, and put on a show with his guitar as part of these great pop songs he wrote, because they're simple, fantastic pop songs.
Yeah.
And but he was a showman.
Right.
And that's, he was a showman the way a lot of these people were, these acts were like, these are show people. And, I've seen AC/DC in concert many times. Angus does the duck walk that Chuck did.
Yeah.
It's homage to it. He doesn't pretend he invented it. But he was the first guitar star. I mean, people who played guitar real well, Les Paul, back in the same era.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody made it as exciting and part of the show and influence other people to want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I want to play guitar because Chuck Berry looks awesome. I want to be that guy,
Yeah. Would you say that there's anything else aside from that made him stand out amongst everyone else at that time? Or is the guitar the main thing?
Well, he was flashy and flamboyant, and you never knew if he was going to show up for a concert, kind of like George Jones or something like that. Is he going to be here? I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. Is he going to be in jail? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he was on, he was on up until he died.
Yeah.
The man was still living in St. Louis, still plugging in, turning it up.
Yeah.
Like that was him. There was nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these artists also, this is their singular thing. This is what they do. This is who they are.
Right.
You leave nothing. You leave it all out. It's all gone. You leave the stage. I gotta go take a nap.
Mm-hmm. You got to go. You have to live and breathe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Our next artist is one of the biggest names on this list. I would say, Elvis Presley. Culturally, the character of Elvis has kind of at this point, at least for maybe the younger generation, has kind of overshadowed the music of Elvis. So tell me some of the things that made his music stand out, and maybe some things that have gone underappreciated as the decades have gone on.
The man could sing.
Yeah.
The man could straight up sing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to his gospel music. The man could sing.
Yeah.
And he knew how to really interpret a song and squeeze the juice out of it, and really make it something you wanted to check out. Now, he was heavily influenced by other artists.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
But he was the first artist that made it kind of safe for white kids to listen to rock and roll.
Mm.
And people are still mad about him doing it because he's out there moving his hips the wrong way, and it's very, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
And even though he was just playing this amazing, he always had a good band with him.
Yeah.
That's key. He's always had a good band with him.
Mm.
But he's a fantastic entertainer. Had his career, the charismatic presence he had on the stage was just fantastic. It was sad that he didn't have control over his life, really.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how things kind of ended in a really sad kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But the excesses of rock and roll, whatever, it gets to a lot of people, and the pressures of it. There are a lot of people on this list who that is the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Everybody always wants from you. They're taking from you constantly.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to, who am I? Am I this character now?
Right.
I think that's really hard. But everybody's screaming, freaking out at shows. Mm-hmm. You can't hear anything when he's playing, but the man he could sing and had great charisma, and he knew how to use the stage really well. And he was Elvis. I mean, there, as much as we like to think about ourselves, I'm never going to be just called Chad. You're never going to be just Drew. People aren't going to just know, well, it's Drew. Just mic drop, walk away. That's Drew.
Right.
No, it's Elvis.
It's Elvis. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
It's that simple.
I'm sure the, people being dressed up as him and like these caricatures of him have probably caused a lot of confusion for him at that time. But it's endured, it's lived on, and it's
the man's been dead for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
And the people are still doing that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It keeps it alive.
All right. Our next artist, number 10, we're halfway through here. The Everly Brothers. So, in all the research I've been doing for this episode, it seems like the Everly Brothers were a major influence on some of the most important artists and bands ever. So, at least
And most people haven't heard of them.
that's what I was about to say. I'm a Gen Zer. I
Yeah.
admit it, and I've never heard of them. So why are they not talked about in the same way that some of these other artists are?
I think it's stylistic. They were a huge influence on most of the rock of the 60s.
Yeah.
And the 70s, but their music was so, they're well-crafted songs.
Yeah.
The harmonies they did together were just outstanding. Production was always really good. They're in a decent room with decent equipment, but I don't think that made a huge difference, but there's something about it, the immediacy. They're right there with you,
Yeah.
I love the production of a lot of their albums, and I'm sorry, I forget who produced a lot of their stuff. The simple well-crafted songs that are easy to sing along to, and that's a good pop song. It's like, oh, I can sing along to this.
Yeah.
You have, you're doing other things. Oh, I know this song, and this is going to come here because there's certain patterns in music. You're like, oh, this sound's probably going to be next. Oh, we're going to go a minor chord below that. Ooh, that's kind of cool. That's just one thing. You just listen to music, you discover those things.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that they influenced everybody from the Byrds to Green Day, is pretty amazing, and they don't get the love they deserve. But they're highly influential. And I'd say if you've not checked out any Everly Brothers and you just want to hear the roots of a certain sound, especially the sound of this late 60s, early 70s, just pop music, it's there, it's in there.
Yeah.
You just go and stream the greatest hits or whatever and think, oh, wow, this is really good, because it is. It's dynamite. Yeah,
I was going to ask what, like, if you were to recommend a couple songs by them, what are some of your go-to favorites?
That's their biggest hit.
Cool. That's great. All right. Our next artist, number 11, Bob Dylan. I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, so this one will be interesting. I want to hear your perspective on it. He's known for his like pretty dramatic switch from acoustic folk to full-blown electric. Like that's like the big shift for him.
Yeah.
Why was that moment such a pivotal one in music history? What is that? How have we, felt like the ripple effects of that?
The thing I love about Dylan is the content of the songs.
Right.
And, he comes from heavily influenced by Pete Seeger and I guess Woody Guthrie too.
Yeah.
But Pete Seeger especially. The great stories.
Right.
And so the lyrics are what always grabbed me about Dylan. And when he goes from the folk to the electric, sometimes with mixed results, frankly, musically, he still retained that. He's never been a great singer.
Yeah.
But the kind of the cool thing about someone who's not a great singer is it makes it easy to sing along to.
100%. I felt the exact same way.
Like, oh, I can't hit those notes.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Because he can't either.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
But his music always, especially in that time period, was really capturing the zeitgeist of America.
Yeah. Right.
And that's why we love art. Sometimes it makes it easy for us to express what we feel about something. We can't verbalize it, can't articulate it, whatever. I don't know how to write about it, but this guy gets it.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it. All right, I see you, man. We're here together. And that's another one of the great things about all kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, a rock song, a hip hop song, a folk song, country song, sometimes they just, it hits different, to use the language of today, it hits different,
For sure.
It does.
Yeah.
And nobody sounded like that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, originator, seismic shift. And so there was a whole scene going on there, and that that New York scene that was happening, and then people move it around.
Mm-hmm.
It also had some influences later for some other other New York music, like kind of as a rebellion to some of it was like the no wave scene and all these things that came out of New York as well.
Yeah.
But he had already moved on to a different direction by then.
Yeah.
But Dylan, I don't think you can overstate the importance of the lyrics that he contributed to the Great American Songbook.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Our next artist, the Beach Boys, personal favorite of mine. Now the Beach Boys feel like, a staple of a summer playlist, but I feel like there's a lot more going on. Beneath the surface of this, like this artifice of the Beach Boys, So what is it that maybe more casual fans might be missing? What is it that they did that endures and is not just the fun beach sound?
Well, the fun beach sound is kind of, it was again, capturing a slice of the America of mid 60s on the coast.
Right.
And it was fun. And, America's kind of mired in we're going through some turbulent times at this point. In mid 60s, again, a lot of stuff happens right around the time JFK is assassinated, and a lot of these things are happening then. So yeah, the fun beach music, it's not just them, it's the Safaris, it's Jan and Dean, it's all these bands in creating that California car culture.
Yeah.
That still endures in different ways today.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things about, and I've seen them in concert, not lately. The thing about the Beach Boys is the harmonies, again, like Everly Brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The harmonies were spot on. But the thing that makes them influential in a couple of ways. First, that sound, the California beach sound, car culture, that whole thing, hot rod music, that's all kind of the same, wrapped up in the same package. Mm-hmm. The production of their music, particularly Pet Sounds, it's from another planet.
100%. Yeah.
It is, you listen to and I have like a mono version and a stereo version. The mono version actually sounds cooler in a way.
Oh yeah.
That was how it was released originally. Yeah. But even the Beatles, that influenced the Beatles. They came out before Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
Yeah. And you listen to Pet Sounds and it's like, why did the song just stop there? Or what's this doing in here? It's very weird.
Yeah.
But just the studio tricks and all the layered harmonies and all these things really massively influenced bands from there. It's like, this is point zero and here we go.
Yeah.
There's a total seismic shift in one album. And it has great songs. Wouldn't it be nice? Everybody loves that song. How can you listen to that song and not be happy?
Yeah.
About it. But I think the production is the thing they really brought that set them apart from everybody else. Because Jan and Dean had some amazing songs too. I could listen to that stuff all day. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the production is the main thing there that influenced everybody from, the Beatles to, Foo Fighters and everybody else, just because of the way that the production was done.
Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. All right. Our next artist is Stevie Wonder. We all know the major hits, Isn't She Lovely, Superstition,
Sure,
Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours, and tons of others. But what are some lesser known Stevie Wonder tracks that you think people need to give a proper listen?
One thing I think about Stevie is, if you have access to, I think maybe it's on Netflix or Apple or whatever, Summer of Soul, a movie that Questlove did.
Yeah.
And you see a very young Stevie Wonder play, and you're going, he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a child and he's killing it.
Right.
Absolutely influential. And does he have a perfect catalog? No, there's some clunkers in there, but you put on, Songs in the Key of Life, that album, it's like, it is so good.
Yeah.
And he always had players with him, and I think Quincy Jones, as a producer,
for sure,
he's on the Mount Rushmore of producers. And so I can't overstate his importance to pop music also.
For sure.
But Stevie had just a different vibe. he seemed more mellow.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed smooth, but he also seemed really, really smart.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's a different kind of vibe. And it's like, I want to hang out with Stevie. You know, when you want, that's kind of the thing you pick up when you listen to a lot of his music. Oh man, this guy'd be cool to hang out with.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I'm guilty of the fact I've never seen him live, which makes me sad.
Yeah.
That killer music. And if everyone wants a starting point there, just go, check out Songs in the Key of Life and just listen to the entire thing. And you're like, wow, this thing is all killer, no filler.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. All right, our next artist, number 14, Jimi Hendrix. So for someone that doesn't and I don't know how deep you can or nerdy you can get on this, but for someone that doesn't really understand like the intricacies of playing the guitar, what does it actually mean when people say that he's the greatest guitarist ever? Like, what is he doing? What's his sound that makes him the greatest ever?
Well, I think one of the things that he did, another good great electric guitarist do, on stage, you're not just playing the guitar, you're playing the electric waves around the amp and everything to get the sound you want.
Yeah.
He was very flamboyant, very much a showman, but the man could play guitar. He could play it on an acoustic guitar and kill it. He had an amazing ear. And he was another one who's an innovator. He Electric Ladyland, he made his own studio, and I don't know if it's still in use today, but it was in use for, decades afterwards. He was great in the studio. He was great on stage. He wasn't great at handling the pressures of things, apparently. We lost him, part of the 27 Club.
Right.
But the thing about Hendrix is kind of like with Chuck Berry. He influenced a bunch of people who want to play guitar.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I want to go up there and be Hendrix. He's lighting stuff on fire. He's wild,
Yeah.
And people are like freaking out. What is going on?
Yeah.
That is punk, man.
100%.
It's like, this guy is scaring the heck out of people. And it's amazing. And he's actually doing covers of old blues songs, Red House. I love his version of that, He just adds these flourishes and things there. And it's like, just right when we're going to put a little slide in here or this, that, and just a little feedback is good for him. He had no problem with that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a very unique sound. And he played, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was like this too. You played the air around the guitar as well as the guitar and the waves coming through. And he was totally taking it all in. He was bodying that.
Yeah.
And giving it all.
It's about the atmosphere as well as the music. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. I like that a lot. Okay. Our next artist is the Stooges. And so what are the key factors that put the Stooges on this list for you?
Now, there are people who say, first off, who are the Stooges? Okay. Valid.
The three Stooges?
Yeah. Like, no, it didn't Curly.
Yeah.
Larry, Moe, Curly, no. Or Shemp and Joe DeResta and all that weren't as good as Curly, those guys. Oh. The Stooges were the original punk rock band.
Yeah.
And without the Stooges, you don't get the Ramones. And this is another Detroit band. It's pretty wild, Yeah. But actually, the MC5 was ahead of them, Motor City 5, another Detroit band. So just punk rock happened up in there a long time ago. But the Stooges took it to another level. And Iggy Pop, who was just a madman, he still is, great in concert. They've been around forever. Nobody sounded like this. And this is another one of those seismic shift things. It's like, we've got some loud rock and roll, but the early 70s is kind of mired in some sameness at the same time. Sure. And the Stooges came and just kicked down the door.
Yeah.
And again, no airplay. This is a punk rock band in all sense, for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. But it's a different sound that made heard. There's a different aggression and there's a danger to the music. And I think that's one of the things that, like Hendrix, there was danger there.
Yeah.
And you need that edge sometimes. Like, all right, and the Stooges are coming in. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen when they play. We have no idea what Iggy's going to do. We don't know if he's going to show up or he's going to be too strung out to play. We don't know.
The unpredictability makes it exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still, go back and listen to, Raw Power, Funhouse. Not Raw Power, it's Iggy, but listen to Funhouse and listen to it from the time point in which it was released and going,
sure.
This isn't Seals and Crofts.
Yeah.
This isn't the Carpenters.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't, Tony Orlando and Don. This isn't that kind of stuff that is happening. This is a whole different thing. And it's, like all good things, it scared people.
Yeah.
I like that. I like, something that kind of kicks the door in. Here we are. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so they're really influential that way. And I did get to see Iggy Pop do a solo show once, and it was so funny because this was at South by Southwest in Austin in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
We got there late, and like there's so many people. Like, we're never going to get there. But then I'm looking around. I said, I'm seeing all the people up front. I said, they're going to run from the stage when the show starts.
Yeah,
and we're going to be able to move up. And absolutely, that's what happened.
Yeah,
people were running from the stage, going, because they got rough in there. It's like, we're going in.
That's cool.
That way, and so we had a great time. I was up really close in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. All right, our next artist, possibly the biggest name on this list, is Michael Jackson. Obviously, he's one of the most famous and important music artists of all time. But what are some like less obvious reasons for that? Because obviously we get the showmanship, like the dancing, the moves, and the sound. But what maybe is there anything that's less obvious that's maybe just bubbling under the surface of like why?
This is one of the things that's really kind of changed over the years. But another artist who's on this list will be able to say the same thing about this. MTV was massive.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't, they were hesitant they were hesitant to put a black artist on as one of their top players anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of stupid stuff that this country and other countries have gone through for years. But his talent was undeniable and it overcame that. It's like, how could you not listen to, like the Off the Wall album is one of my favorites of his. It is a freaking amazing album. Again, Quincy Jones,
pivotal, very important in the Michael Jackson story. Yep. Yeah,
Quincy Jones, and Michael, he was a mess.
Yeah,
his family was a mess because the way that they're raised. His parents, you're performing animals. You're my puppets. We're going to make money, which never ends well. But you can't deny the fact that he had a string of albums that are just bulletproof.
100%.
And best-selling artist of all time.
Yeah.
And you can't discount his contribution to not just music, but culture. Mm-hmm. People were dressing like him. Why, people were like, but you had to be pretty good to pull off one glove thing. You had to be pretty
yeah, right.
You had to be able to back that up.
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing it. But, but all these symbols became very synonymous with him.
Yeah.
And, dance moves.
Mm-hmm.
People did the moonwalk because of Michael Jackson. All these things because the man could dance.
Oh yeah,
he could sing
like no one else. Yeah,
he could act.
Yeah,
he could do anything he wanted to do except for get out of his own head. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And which was super sad, but the fact that we got to live on the planet at the same time of most of these artists is pretty special, frankly.
Yeah, for sure.
And so Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's Michael Jackson. They call him the King of Pop. He was the King of Pop.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
All right. Our next artist is Prince. So if you were tasked with describing who Prince was as an artist to someone who has never heard a single song of his, which, I mean, how are you alive and you've never heard
Right.
Prince song? But just for the sake of conversation, how would you even start? Like, what?
I don't know, man. How
He
do you
can't be
start
described. Yeah.
that? Prince, he's from another dimension,
Yeah.
and he could play anything,
Mm-hmm.
and did.
Yeah.
And was an unbelievable performer. And again, there's somebody else who had demons, but he hit them better than a lot of people for a long time.
Sure.
But the fact that he got signed so young, somebody saw the talent. The A&R guys saw talent in here, and when he finally hit, was it like 1984 or so with 1999 album.
Yeah.
And that thing is stacked with hits.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the tours start getting bigger. He stopped playing theater shows, started doing arena shows, and Sign of the Times, and all these great albums that he was just putting out there. And he could do any style of music, and some of the songs are happy, some of them are mean, some are happy. So sad. It just depends on. He was a chameleon as far as his abilities. He could do anything. He could play any instrument, and he usually did. This is another one of those singular performers, in every way, not just because of the name Prince, but because right. Who's that guy going to be, or that girl going to be, can play, write their music, play all the instruments, write the lyrics, do everything on their own. Mm-hmm. That's next level genius that is really hard to even wrap your head around. His Super Bowl performance is the best Super Bowl performance there was, in my opinion.
Yeah. Better than Michael Jackson.
Yeah. And better than anybody else will ever be, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because there was, when it was raining and he said, make it rain harder. He's like, it was raining. He was like, he was going for it.
Yeah.
And he gave every ounce then. And it was great. Or the videos everybody see about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when, the induction for George Harrison, goes out there and just lays waste to the place doing this amazing solo.
Yeah.
And I don't think the world's been quite the same since we lost Prince. Is that weird?
No.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's off. Since we lost Prince, everything's been a little off.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I get it. 100%. Yeah. Okay. Our next artist. We've got 3 more to go. Next one is Run DMC. So what was Run DMC doing that was different in hip hop at that time that no one had heard or seen before?
They packaged themselves up really well and performed as a group, and had an image. They had a brand. They had a look, and the rhymes were killer. Mm-hmm. And they were the ones that they were the first out of the gate to hit that hard. Yeah. And the fact, again, this is another one of those seismic moments. Mm-hmm. There are other hip hop artists around then, but you don't know who they are. Yeah. You know these guys, and they were huge in certain circles. And then when they did the thing with Aerosmith, which made them MTV darlings, because this is back in the 80s, MTV was steering the ship. Mm-hmm. And that's not really the case anymore, because they don't really exist, Yeah. They really brought an attitude and a look, and the music. Again, it's funny because they're from all that the hip hop originated stuff like in Jamaica, Queens area, which is going to go back down to Fats Domino. Yeah, just saying,
for sure.
And it's really I think the thing about them was Run DMC looked tough, but they also seemed like they might be kind of fun at the same time. So, it wasn't all threatening. Yeah. Like NWA rolls out a few years later. I go, oh, this sounds great, but I don't want to hang out with these guys.
Right. Yeah.
It might be a little rough.
Yeah.
But Run DMC was accessible. Yeah. And the Public Enemy song said Run DMC said it, a DJ could be a band, they pulled it off, and it kind of, it set the table for everybody else. And that's where the originators do set the table, and everybody follows, and everybody gets to do something after that. But they're hugely influential.
All right, that's Run DMC. Next up, number 19, Madonna. So to keep this kind of current, I mean, we've got this year at the World Cup, Madonna is performing at the first ever World Cup final halftime show with Shakira and BTS. What is it about her that is so special, number one? And number two, why does she continue to endure like she does?
Well, Madonna was a product of MTV. And she's a great performer, very provocative. She knew how to push buttons because, okay, this is my edge. I've got to, make things fun, make them sexy. And so that's kind of what her deal was in the beginning. She's good at sensing when she needs to reinvent herself to get more attention. I think that the fact that she's such a talented artist who's a really effective chameleon.
Yeah.
And has great business sense is why we still even know who she is anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, she dropped a new song, just recently.
Yeah.
And it's on our system, and so she'll be at the World Cup, which actually with Shakira, who I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And BTS are undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. It's an interesting mix of artists for sure.
It is.
Yeah. All right. That's Madonna. Our final artist or band. Our final one is Nirvana. So Nirvana was a band for 7 years, ending their run after the death of Kurt Cobain.
Right.
What does it say about their music that they were only together for that long and they still managed to be talked about as one of the greatest bands of the 90s?
Nirvana is one of those bands where this is a seismic shift.
Yeah.
They weren't the first grunge band, really, but they were the first ones to break out. I remember when I was producing a cable access show in Oklahoma where we played music videos. And Sub Pop Records sent me a video from a band called Mudhoney, a video from a band called Tad. These are grunge bands.
Yeah.
And they were produced and and stuff sounded good. The Mudhoney one, a song called The Gift, was a terrific song. And they sent me the CD. This band named Nirvana is the Bleach album. And I listened and said, wow, this is killer. Too bad that nobody's ever going to hear it. It's not going to airplay, but I'm digging it,
Wow.
And so because the sound was so raw, it wasn't really consumer friendly yet.
Yeah.
And, Soundgarden had an album out at that time too, Ultra Mega OK, I think is, so everybody was hitting about the same, but Nirvana hadn't broken out yet. And then I'll never forget when I saw that Nevermind was coming out. I was like, new Nirvana, I'm going to go get it. And I worked at a place where I wasn't making any money at all. And I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. I was living credit card and half a paycheck, to live. And so I go down to the music store down the way in the small city in which I was living at the time. And I grabbed that Nirvana CD. Yes. And I played it. Said, oh, this is amazing. And crickets. It wasn't for months later when they dropped the video for Smells Like Teen Spirit did that blow up.
Wow.
Because it wasn't a hit right away.
Yeah.
But when it hit. And I think it caught the music industry by surprise. It caught the band by surprise. And they weren't prepared for it, I don't believe. And I think that it clearly took its toll. But you listen, that Nevermind album, it is a masterpiece.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it is absolutely unbelievable.
The production, Butch Vig's production is great. There was something about that. It again, this is one of those moments, the seismic shift in stylistic music as far as rock and pop music goes.
Yeah.
Again, like with Beach Boys, you're capturing the zeitgeist of a generation at just the right time. Because I was in my 20s when they came out. And so all of us, weird Gen X kids are going, I got to have that,
Yeah.
And so I remember playing that thing at just mind-shearing volume.
Yeah.
And loving every second of it. But then everybody else starts, now we're going to ride on the coattails of this band. And so other bands that weren't quite as big started getting signed to majors.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorites that I wish it should be on the list, but again, I didn't have room on the list.
Yeah.
Sonic Youth got signed to a major after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Sonic Youth for, years, a few years before, Nirvana even came around. And so they got on the majors. Then Pumpkins come, get a major deal. STP gets a major deal. Everybody starts getting these, this is back when record industries were, when they were throwing money at these bands, trying to get it, give them a deal, and really try to make it something, make their money off of, because
right.
That's their job, to make money off of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was such a seismic shift in sound of music at the time that it was undeniable.
Yeah.
It was undeniable.
Yeah. That's great.
And they're a mess,
Yeah.
I think a lot of artists, and this could be said of many people on this list, they're creating something for themselves. They need to get this thing out of them.
Yeah.
But sometimes the action of doing that sometimes destroys them. The thing you love about them, the brokenness that helped them make these songs, whether it's Hank Williams Sr. or Jimi Hendrix, any of these bands, Elvis, the thing that you love about them is the brokenness that helped them create can take them away from us too.
Yeah, for sure. That's well said. All right, Chad, we did it. I'm going to quickly recap these.
Right.
Before I recap, do you have, just for the sake of time, 3 or 4 artists that you wish we could have added? Just some honorable mentions real quick.
There are so many artists, whittling this list down to 20 is just cruel. But there's so many amazing artists that I think you could put on this list as important, whether they're influential or they're huge sellers or whatever. And there still are all these American artists. I mentioned Taylor Swift, Metallica, Boston, really influential in a certain, a sound. Also Steppenwolf. Then earlier acts like The Temptations, Otis Redding, Curtis Mayfield. You don't get a lot of this funk and stuff without Curtis Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
These types of bands, or jazz. John Coltrane's my favorite, hands down. Charlie Parker, who I've been to his grave many times in Kansas City. Yeah. And I love this stuff. Thelonious Monk, great jazz artists. Everybody influences everybody, and the train keeps moving down the road.
Yeah.
Another train keeps rolling all night long. Aerosmith, they belong there too.
Yeah.
And so, I think that these are just the bands we've listed are just kind of, originators and people who created a seismic shift. But there's so many great bands out there who have always brought it, and they don't phone it in live. And, Huey Lewis, the News. I've seen Huey Lewis back in the day. Amazing band. Jimmy Buffett, he's an industry.
Yeah.
He's an industry. I mean, he's passed, but they still have Margaritavilles everywhere,
Yeah.
And so a lot of these artists are, if it's a easily recognizable name by somebody who's never even heard the music, you've done something.
Yeah. For sure.
And like Ice-T, Ice Cube, Jay-Z, these great hip hop artists who are just so important to the scene to make things going where they were, where they've gone.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can discount any of them, really.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been to, over, hundreds of concerts, or probably over 400 concerts, I only have very simple rules as to if I like you in a live setting. Are you playing like you mean it?
Right.
That's pretty much my only rule.
Yeah.
Are you playing like you mean it?
Give it some heart.
Yeah.
Give it your everything.
And that's what I want to see. I want to see you live. I want to see you playing like you mean it, no matter who it is. I've been disappointed a few times by shows, but sometimes the opening act saved the day.
Yeah.
For
sure.
And so I think that's what it's all about. Music is for everybody. There's something for everybody. Something speaks to everybody, but just care about it when you're making that, when you're practicing your craft, care about it and do the best you can.
Yeah. Well said. All right. I'm going to quickly recap and then get you out of here, Chad. All right. Our list, our top 20 most influential and important American artists are Duke Ellington, Frank Sinatra, Muddy Waters, Hank Williams, Fats Domino, James Brown, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, the Everly Brothers, Bob Dylan, the Beach Boys, Stevie Wonder, Jimi Hendrix, the Stooges, Michael Jackson, Prince, Run DMC, Madonna, and Nirvana. Now, here at CMC Neptune, we have our Neptune Music Library built by you, Chad, that has over 60,000 songs from over 12,000 artists, including the 20 that we talked about today. So if you're an athletic director, a venue owner of water parks, trampoline parks, agri-tainment facilities, family entertainment venues, etc., or if you're an elementary school teacher or administrator, CMC Neptune has you covered with our 3 products built specifically with you in mind. Those products are Neptune GameTime, Neptune Radio, and Neptune SchoolZone. So if your interest is piqued by this conversation, please visit neptunenow.com to learn more and request a free demo. Chad, thank you so much for joining today. This has been a lot of fun.
Love hanging out with you, even if it's just on a screen.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to have you on the show again, because I think you bring a lot of great insights into the history of this thing that we all love. So I really appreciate your time today. I want to thank Dalton for running the production today for this. And I want to thank the audience for joining and listening. Let us know what you thought of our list. Let us know who some of your favorite American artists are, who's most important to you. And make sure to like and subscribe and follow and share the podcast. That's it. All right. Bye.